can't believe we lost that much. I even found my backup GameCubes.
You have backup GameCubes?
I did. We really should have looked into the festival some more before hosting it in our place of residence.
Yeah, don't we usually have a protocol for these things?
It's more like a written rule between us that any invitations are declined and we only invite others in if their homes burn down first.
Seems specific. How much longer until we reach the pawn shop?
4 miles. Straight ahead, no turns, no crossings, just straight ahead.
Hopefully we won't have to fight the owner to get our stuff back.
In a video game world, yes, perhaps we'd have to resort to blows, but in here, in the real world, we just have to open the treasure chest in the back of the store, find the key treasure, then move on to the next pawn shop.
We have to what?
What? I said we have to explain the situation, show them the engravings of fart jokes you etched into our things.
Knew those were a good idea.
Or if it comes to it, buy our stuff back. Why? What did you think I said?
I don't know. I just had this strange flash from the past about punching walls, shoulder-slamming donut salesmen, and ground-pounding giant worms.
That's strange. Did you briefly imagine me as a pudgy, semi-Italian man with a strange mustache and complimentary colored clothes?
No. Why?
Then you're in the early stages of Wario Land nostalgia, not to be confused with the other WLN acronym, which stands for Waffle Lacks Nuts.
So many questions. First, what is Wario Land nostalgia disease?
It's not a disease, an ailment per se. It'll go away, but you gotta talk about the Wario Land series for a few minutes to completely de-ail yourself. Think you can do that?
Sure, I'm a little unprepared, but life comes at you fast.
Specifically in the form of words ending in A who ransack your home, kick your brother in the balls, and take a bite out of your crosscode cartridge. Begin whenever you're ready.
The Wario Land games are a series of adventures starring Mario's other rival, Wario, who was the final boss of Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. He stole Mario's castle, placed the citizens of Mario Land under his control, and scattered the 6 golden coins all over the land. Mario's only recourse was to set out to reacquire each of the 6 golden coins, then stomp the shit out of the creep who took over his home.
Evidently, Mario succeeds in defeating Wario and reclaims his castle. But was this the end for the Super Mario Land series? Of course not, because Super Mario Land 3 eventually came out 2 years later. This time, however, it did not star the red-headed hero, but his filthy, greedy, castle-stealing rival, Wario.
Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, is the final installment in the Super Mario Land series and the first installment in the Wario Land series. Also the first game we get to play as Wario. The first adventure in this greedy gremlin's pointy shoes, and boy was it a good one. His story begins when he chases a pirate ship belonging to the Brown Sugar Pirates to take their treasure. He eventually does using his signature shoulder slam and uses it to get ashore.
But this isn't just any random shore. This is Rice Beach of Kitchen Island, the hideout for the Brown Sugar Pirates. Wario's come here seeking their treasure, but beyond even that, a statue of Princess Toadstool herself. He intends to steal the pirates' treasure, beat the din out of them, steal their statue, and ransom it to Mario in exchange for a lot of money and his castle back. A devious plot from a truly goofy-looking character. At least he cleaned up his act for his first adventure. Showered, probably shaved, got corrective eye surgery.
His rather well-thought-out plan has some kinks in it as he has to scale the whole island to get to yet another castle where the statue is being held. But that just means there's 40 levels of fun to be had with Wario.
Wario Land plays and controls similarly to Mario games of the time, with blocks to break and pop power-ups out of that make you bigger or transform you. Getting hit with anything will make you a small version of your character, and collecting 100 of a thing, namely these hearts, will give you an extra life. But Wario has a few more tricks up his sleeve than Mario. First, his shoulder slam ability, which also works as a dash and can be used to extend Wario's jump distance if A is pressed to jump during a dash. He also has a butt smash ability which allows him to break blocks below him and defeat enemies, as well as his ability to pick up and throw enemies. Even these simple abilities create a unique experience separated from other 2D platformer games of the time.
Beyond even that are transformations that further enhance and change the powers gained from power-up pots, such as
Bull Wario!
Granted from any garlic pot when Wario is in his normal form, or directly from a bull pot, this will power up his shoulder slam and butt smash abilities. Break blocks faster, beat heavier enemies, stick to the fucking ceiling with your pointy hat that is apparently stapled to your skull. The garlic pot also powers up small Wario and makes him normal Wario.
Jet Wario!
Gotten from grabbing the jet pot, which has little wings on it. This will allow Wario to walk faster or fly for a time when dashing midair. Fly across the sky with your shoulder slam and faster in water. Go, go, go!
Dragon Wario!
Wario's final alternate transformation, which is granted from a pot that looks like a nutsack. Dragon Wario can no longer shoulder slam, instead the B button will give Wario fire breath. This can break lines of blocks above and below C and destroy enemies. Grab the Dragon Pot.
You'll use these abilities and more to gather money and look for treasure in each stage. You'll need at least 10 coins a stage though, so do be careful to destroy all enemies as you go through each level. 20 if you want to activate the checkpoint in each area. You see, if you press up on the D-pad and B, Wario will channel his inner Houdini and create a coin from thin air, made from 10 of his own. Deposit this into this statue or on the door at the end of each level to activate a checkpoint or finish the level, respectively. Some levels even have hidden exits to find too. It's 40 levels of scouring for money, searching for rare treasures, and slamming enemies into each other, and we wouldn't want it any other way.
And he forgot to mention the gambling.
I did not.
That's right, my not-so-fake pseudo-kind of addiction rears its ugly head in this game once again. After finishing each level, you get a choice of 2 minigames to play. One will bet all the coins you've made in the level in a 50-50 chance to double your wins or slice your wallet in half. You get up to 3 pulls of a left and right rope. The losses feel more devastating than the gratifying wins, so I only ever pulled the rope once. The other minigame allows you to use your coins to win 1-ups. No coin wins here, just lives.
Level designs are rather simple, with 3 to 5 rooms to solve puzzles and defeat enemies in. There are some clever designs that hide secrets beyond them, such as indicating secret paths that activate when switches are pressed with floating coins. Things we actually didn't know existed without the help of a guide to tell us how to reach the secret areas beyond them.
This first Wario Land game felt more like an asset flip of a Mario game, with very few updates that do their best to emphasize the differences. Of course, the references will always be there, but his abilities to defeat enemies, fight bosses, and obtain treasure make him a different character. My first exposure to him beyond Mario Party wouldn't be until years later when I first picked these games up and realized how fucking awesome Wario is.
This is a solid game right here. The puzzles aren't difficult if you pay attention to the hints the game gives you. Bosses are easy to fight as long as you remember all the abilities you have. Also, the treasure is important. It denotes what kind of ending you'll receive. There is a lot here, more than just a cookie-cutter Mario platformer, and that's evident from beginning to end.
Wow, I think you're right. Talking about Wario Land is helping. We should keep going.
Okay, sure. Wario Land 2 incoming.
4 years after Wario Land 1 released and we first saw our favorite rotund anti-hero slamming heads and butt-slamming things came the sequel, Wario Land 2. You'll notice there is no mention of Mario within the title anymore. That's right, Wario is big enough to stand on his own, and yet another adventure in which he stars. Awesome, right?
Wonderful!
Wario Land 2 is a remarkably different game from its predecessor, making this Wario and last game's Wario seem like almost completely different characters. The previous iteration looked like a bumbling, greedy fool. This one looks more coherent, ready to duke it out with whomever and whatever gets in his way. Luckily for him, the Black Sugar Pirates are back at it again.
Isn't it the Brown Sugar Pirates?
Shut up. Anyway, our next adventure begins with the Black Sugar Pirates sneaking into Wario's castle, stealing his treasure, and leaving a surprisingly loud alarm clock type enemy behind, which... why would you leave something that makes noise and wakes up the person you're stealing from behind? Whatever, I suppose. The game begins there, and you take up the anti-hero role, once more, as Wario.
Wario Land 2's progression is vastly different than 1. For one, there are multiple endings. Depending on which exits you find, your performance in each level, and various other factors, you can find several branching paths that lead to different final bosses and different endings. They usually end up with Wario back at home, treasure recovered. There is a true ending to be found, but this is what astounded me upon my return to this game. Seriously, in the first level, if you simply let Wario sleep past the annoying alarm going off for a while, the level ends and you unlock a branching path to a different ending. I had no idea, I was just mindlessly looking away from the game and boom, branching path.
You can follow the game's regular story level progression, leading Wario all over his castle to take care of the various things the Black Sugar Pirates did to annoy him, then all over the land to chase down Captain Syrup and her crew. These were just the icing on the cake for a game that wildly and vividly expanded the adventure that was to be had.
Beyond a better and more fun story to complete, Wario has more powers. Returning are his butt slam, enemy toss, and shoulder slam abilities, but there's more. For one, Wario is invincible in this game. He takes no damage when hit. He is only knocked away by an attack, losing a few coins in the process. This makes some bosses, puzzles, and enemies way easier to pick off because you don't have a health bar to pay attention to. Just coins to win back if they strike you. Revenge is worth it because money.
Also returning are the mini-games at the end of each level. In addition, there's another minigame in the middle of each level to obtain a treasure. The mid-level minigame is a memory game in which you must pay attention to the enemy panel on the chest, and after a brief period of all panels being shown, pick the corresponding enemy panel. There are different difficulties, and you'll pay using the amount of coins found in each level. They flip fast, so do your best. If you win, you get that level's treasure.
The other minigame at the end of each level is this number guessing game. Every second, one of 9 panels will flip and cost the player 50 coins. It's your job to guess which number it is. If you guess correct, you get a picture panel piece. If you do not, you have to repeat the level and guess again. Less gambling, but more reward. I like it.
There are even helpful indicators when picking which level to enter that inform you of the picture panel pieces and treasures you have already or not yet found. Empty rectangle denotes missing picture panel piece, closed treasure chest indicates the treasure of that level has yet to be found. It's a very helpful system.
Returning to Wario's abilities, all of them have been powered up to the extreme. His jump is higher and can be even higher if up on the D-pad is held while jumping. Doing this after jumping on an enemy will give Wario an even higher than that jump. His dash is stronger, his butt slam creates shockwaves without the help of a hat. It can even turn enemies around now. His enemy throw is stronger and can be powered up by holding B.
Further beyond even these abilities are his new transformations. Because Wario can't die, he had to be vulnerable to something else, specific enemy attacks. Certain enemies will affect Wario in certain ways, allowing him to reach new areas, fight off different enemies, or hinder his progress. Most of these can be reverted when enough time has passed or Wario touches water or an enemy. These are such an interesting addition to Wario's moveset and opens the way for some incredible exploration in a game that only seemed to build upon its prequel.
It did. In addition to all of this, there are more secret walls with incredible amounts of wealth to be found, more ways to exercise Wario's incredible strength and durability, and more ways to make boss fights frustrating.
Yes. Because Wario can't die, there had to be some challenge somewhere in the game, and that challenge comes in the form of boss fights and their obstacles. This metal spearman, for example. This is the final boss of one of the chapters and will dash left to right until it needs a charge from Captain Syrup above you. Wario can strike it when it reveals its face to take a charge from the spear. Unfortunately, if Wario even grazes the spear, Spearman will toss him upward, forcing the player to restart the whole boss. Every boss has some way of tossing Wario off the battlefield, meaning multiple tries may be required for each boss.
Wario Land 2 felt like an entirely new game when compared to its prequel. From simply jumping to interacting with enemies to the story with multiple endings, this felt like an entirely different planet when compared to the first Wario Land and even other Mario platformers. Wario Land 2 expanded the world Wario can operate in, even if he is only gathering treasure that was once his and fighting Captain Syrup again. This is an excellent game I will likely play again when we finish this.
You got really heated during that one. I noticed a few stares.
Ah, that's right, we're walking down a real street while doing this. I forgot.
Ready for Wario Land 3?
No, not really.
Wario Land 3 came to the Game Boy Color just 2 years after Wario Land 2. Yet again, the boss forgoes any mention of his rival, Mario. Departed are we from the days when Mario must be mentioned to drum up hype for the greedy character. Wario is tough enough to stand on his own. But again,
Yahoo!
This Wario game is, again, a large departure from its prequel for several reasons. For one, it doesn't follow Wario on any adventure to reacquire some sort of treasure to barter with or because he lost it. He's simply flying his plane. When it crashes, he is unhurt when he lands and happens upon a mysterious cave. Within the cave is a music box which he is instantly transported into. While inside, he finds himself in a temple, at which point a mysterious figure begins to explain that he was once a god until an evil being sealed away his powers in 5 music boxes located throughout the land. If Wario collects them, the figure promises to free Wario and send him home with all the treasure he can carry.
While anyone with common sense would be wary, Wario's not, and heartily takes up the task. And so, Wario's third adventure begins.
This Wario Land is several leagues different from its prequels in several ways once more. For one, no more alternate endings. Level progression functions similarly to Wario Land 1, only with a twist. Each level has 4 treasures hidden within it, and Wario must use his abilities that he gains to find each one.
Oh, if you notice that your jump isn't as high and your dash isn't as strong, that's because they aren't. Wario Land 3 Wario has been weakened severely for this adventure. He can't even swim. That's because within the treasures in the world, there are ones that bestow Wario with powers he's had previously.
The intention behind this was to expand the world a bit further with each new power-up obtained. Each treasure has some sort of point besides being pretty to look at. Most will unlock other parts of old areas or new areas altogether. These are denoted by a sparkle on the map showing where to go next should you get lost or confused. Or if you want to progress with no frills attached, just ask the mysterious figure in the temple. He'll point you to where you need to go next to progress the story.
Level design is similar to previous games with transformation enemies and no death, with lots of coins to be found. Odd, however, is the omission of end-level minigames for guessing, matching, or gambling. You simply beat a level by finding the treasure or the door and continue on. Of course, in some levels you may find a minigame block, which is blocking Wario's way.
To move this block, Wario must complete a golfing minigame. In here, Wario will power up his shoulder slam ability to knock an enemy into a golf hole before he goes over par. Something I didn't know until late game, you can view the course and how far a full power slam will send the enemy by using the D-pad. A little indicator will show you how far it'll go. Very helpful for planning your shots.
Each treasure in each level will lead to an exit and has its own corresponding colored key, so you gotta go back in when the level drags you to the world map after finding a treasure chest. Further within each level are musical coins. Each level has 8 coins that will have a unique coin get theme each time you find one.
This adventure follows its prequel design of Wario Can't Die, in which he will be knocked away when hit. Only this time the distance Wario is knocked away has increased, making recovery just a bit more difficult. This also helps bosses knock Wario off small platforms and the like.
Wario Land 3 didn't do much to expand the series beyond where 2 left it. It even felt like a step backward due to the reduction of Wario's abilities and the nature in which they are powered up. While Wario is no longer chained to the Black Sugar Pirates and Captain Syrup, nor is he chained to trying to recover his lost treasure. He was held down by the game's need to make such a strong character weak.
What this game did offer was a focus more on a puzzle-solving experience than an action platformer one. You have to figure out which parts of each level open up after you find a treasure, almost like playing hide-and-seek with the type and amount of progress you can make in the game. It gets repetitive and annoying after the first few levels when you can only move so far because your powers have been weakened so much. What this game did do, however, was introduce a new type of story for Wario in which he chases treasure he finds himself as opposed to finding treasure that was stolen from him.
Alright, one more, right?
On handheld.
Wait, there's more after that?
Wario Land 4, baby! I am beyond excited to present to you, no less than 18 months after Wario Land 3 came out, Wario Land 4. The next installment in the Wario starring treasure hunting adventure platforming series that features the world's favorite adventure seeker. This time he's better and more talkative than ever, too.
Alright, good luck. Hey, hurry up! Wow. Oh boy. Sorry.
At this point, Wario games are so different from each other, it's basically the expectation that Wario will be stronger, faster, fatter, and better in his next game. However, 4 learned from 3 in creating an experience where Wario isn't cleaning up a mess someone else caused and instead seeking treasure once more. On a regular day of scrolling through the newspaper... What? It's fine, it's just...
I know, it strikes
Yeah.
you. It's wrong.
And picking his nose, Wario happens upon an article describing a mysterious pyramid in the forest where a treasure resides. Without hesitating, Wario hops into his sick new ride and drives off to the forest.
Upon finding and entering the pyramid, a cat causes Wario to take pause. The cat jumps into a hole, Wario jumps in soon after, and Wario's adventure to find the treasures of the pyramid and escape begins.
Enter the tutorial level and become the strongest version of Wario there has ever been. New and old abilities are shown off, as well as the collectibles the player needs to find in each level. You have to find the 4 pieces of a diamond, every level has them, as well as the CDs in each level, and some even have 1 extra chest with a full heal within. You'll also notice the HP meter has returned in this game. If you fill the meter underneath by collecting these orbs, you'll get a heart back.
Each level has those collectibles as well as enemies to fight and blocks to break with coins inside of them, as well as a purple room with a challenge inside. Usually the prize will be a diamond worth $1,000 and features Wario working on a skill he already has in his arsenal to solve a puzzle. Beyond that, each level features a key bird to find which will unlock the next level and a frog timer. Once pressed, Wario must escape the level before time runs out, otherwise he'll lose all of his treasure and have to try again.
The levels in this game are rather expertly designed. Each one has its own specific look, navigational hazards, challenge rooms, music tracks, and feeling to them. They feel like different worlds when compared to each other, even if they're the same passages. Transformations even return to introduce more ways to solve puzzles, and they have never looked better.
As soon as you clear a passage's individual levels, find each key bird and complete each diamond, you'll take on the boss of the passage.
What's that though, James? Are those mini games?
They are! Mini-games return! There are 3 to play this time. A baseball one, a rhythm-based jumping one, and a matching faces one. If you do well in them, you earn medals that can be spent in the item shop that opened up in the hallway leading to each boss. The mini-games are simple, fun, and they are completely optional. Unlike games past, you never have to look at these things if you don't want to.
Within the item shop, you are greeted by the most Mr. Game & Watch man, who we assure you isn't Mr. Game & Watch. He'll sell you items for the price of medals you've earned, and you can even get a free smile from him. He'll even make noise when you ask him for a smile.
Each item in the shop does a different amount of damage to the boss. Bosses have specific items they're weak to that offer extra damage beyond that as well. But no boss really requires them to be purchased. You can just amass your medals, make item shop guys smile, dance, and make noise, and move on with your day.
Wario Land 4 feels like the best of all worlds in terms of a Wario Land game. Taking damage returns from the first game, the abilities, transformations, different ending types dependent on cash collected and puzzle solving returns from the second game, and the story beats from the third game are back. The fourth game made Wario the strongest version of himself yet, and his most talkative. Yelling when struck and wishing the player
Good luck!
upon entry to a level is just the right amount of Wario we need.
He'll taunt bosses by working out before fighting them. He encourages stealing from babies in his manual. He assures the player that he does, indeed, take damage when they mess up. This is the most personality Wario has ever been given, and it is absolutely perfect for the greedy character.
I suppose the only complaint one could have with this game is how short it is. There are only 18 levels, counting the tutorial level, and 6 bosses. That's an incredibly short game, but it's the perfect bite-sized adventure for Wario. Become the best version of him and knock some heads while collecting treasure and saving a cursed princess.
Alright, Andy, one last gasp of Wario Land before we're conveniently where we need to be.
One more game? Are you sure? What about the Virtual Boy game?
Never played, much less owned it, so we're skipping right to Shake It.
The milkshake place? Much as I like the idea, we should probably keep moving.
I meant Wario... Just never mind.
7 years after the release of Wario Land 4, we see the rotund world traveler return, but this time on a home console. The Wii exclusive game even featured hand-drawn backgrounds, characters, sets, and animations. Probably a nightmare for production, but it does look rather beautiful. This adventure featured Wario in a brand new light, a brand new adventure, and with brand new powers. Get ready to shake things up.
This Wario game features another more detailed version of our favorite purple-clad treasure hunter with new ambitions, new powers, and new adventure. Unfortunately, Shake It returns to the story beats of old where he is tricked and must make it back to square one afterward. Our story begins with Captain Syrup of the Black Sugar Pirates stealing a globular object. The world-looking thing is actually another world inhabited by all sorts of creatures. Within the world, a heinous evil tyrant named the Shake King just took control and stole the world's treasure, the Endless Coin Bag. It's a bag that produces coins infinitely as you shake it. He has also kidnapped the Murphles and their princess along the way.
One of the hilariously named Murphles vows to find someone to save their land and escapes the Shake King's ship. Captain Syrup, having watched these events unfold apparently, steals the object. Not only that, she delivers it to Wario with a note denoting a treasure that's inside. Before he can break it with a sledgehammer, the Murphle appears and informs Wario of the situation. Murphle mentions treasure once, and Wario jumps to action. And so, Wario's most recent Land series game begins.
Wario begins his adventure with his shoulder slam and butt smash abilities with some extra stuff tossed in too, like his Earth Shaker. Shake the Wiimote to make Wario punch the ground and shake the world. Enemies will flip and become dizzy, puzzles will be solved, platforms and pillars will rise, and more. Also returning are very few transformations such as Fire Wario, Frozen Wario, and more. His R button dash from Wario Land 4 returns, but only if you use the shooter pipe thing.
Wario has fewer abilities to bash enemies and blocks this time, but more to do. In each level there are side quests you can strive to complete as well. Completing all of them awards you the level's unique soundtrack. Other than a CD, there really is no reason to complete these unless you really want to torture yourself. Some areas even have side quests that will require multiple playthroughs.
While Wario looks the best he ever has, there are vital portions of his game missing that would have elevated this installment far past its prequels. For one, minigames. Totally absent from this game. No tiny fun motion-controlled minigames to earn medals, coins, lives, or power-ups. You simply move between levels, finding treasure if you feel like it. There really is no drive to do so. At the end of the level, you shake the Murphle free and dash out of the level before time runs out a la Wario Land 4.
One of the major components of Shake It is, well, shaking it. You shake your Wiimote to get healing garlic out of enemies, money out of money bags, and Murphles out of their cages. When shaking to get the latter two items out of that list, it just wastes time. For money bags, you better be in a crevice or far enough away from a wall, or the money will fly out everywhere behind you. For Murphles, the timer begins once the alarm goes off, which means you gotta waste time shaking the cage while your precious time is running out. 4 seconds is a lot if you're trying to beat the timing-based side quest.
The Wiimote's motion controls are also used for some vehicles and cannon aiming, but not much else besides that. It's out of the way and does not interfere with this generally inoffensive game.
Wario's goal is to go to each of the continents of the Shake Dimension, conquer their lands, defeat their bosses, and claim their boss emblems. Claim all 6, then go fight Shake King in his 3-phase boss fight. This is a straightforward game with very few frills to incentivize 100%ing it beyond CD collection. It's the last installment in the series until it gave in completely to the WarioWare system of things. We may never see another Wario Land game, but we can always hold these 5 games in our hearts. 6 if you played the Virtual Boy version.
Wario Land was such an amorphous blob of gameplay mechanics and personality that it never stuck to one piece of anything long enough for it to become standard. Beyond shoulder slamming, butt slamming, and platforming, nothing about any of the games was pulled from any previous one. Not to say that's bad, but that literally anything could happen in the series. Wario Land was a surprise with each new release because it was never clear what was going to return and what was going to be left in the past. It was a fun series of games where you could play a fat guy who likes to wear knockoff Mario gear and and punch shit. It set my child heart aflutter.
It truly is one of the best celebrations of the strange and offbeat things Nintendo once gave us and can give us again.
We'll miss those days.
Truly. Now let's go inside and get our stuff back.